What you're about to listen to is an interview with the amazing Mia Aseltine. She's a great rider from the US, racing primarily in cyclocross, but also has experience in mountain biking and road racing. She's just a really good chat. Hope you enjoy it on that front. We talk about her selection at the under 23 Worlds, her experiences racing in Europe, now that she's had a bit of an extended stay in Belgium this year. And also like the differences between the two styles of racing, as well as some exciting plans that she's got and is looking into to whether she can, well, change how she races in some regards. Listen in for that. But yeah, let's get to it.
Hi Mia, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. It's lovely to catch up because obviously we've spoken before on another podcast, so hopefully that gets like re-uploaded and doesn't become lost media.
Right.
Um, but obviously I'm talking to you whilst you're in Belgium, which is kind of wild to consider, like the
Yeah.
fact that you're close to my time zone for once.
I
Um,
know it's so great.
how are you finding the whole European experience?
I love it, honestly. I've always loved it over here. I thought it was really cool. And it's kind of nice to be able to spend so much time over here finally, because the last time I was here, I think I was only here for about 2.5 weeks. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's nice for longer for sure.
Yeah, does that like change? Because I know certainly like the UK cyclocross like people, like they either move here for or move to Belgium for a bit, or they're kind of having day trips across to do like weekend races and then back again. I guess in a similar way that you would do for some of the US races on the East Coast, like you just go across to wherever, chill out
Right.
there for a bit, but then come back and you're never there for a very long time. Like, does that change how you're viewing Belgium? And does it mean you've got a bit more freedom? Like, yeah, how's it all functioning for you?
Yeah, I guess I got a little bit more freedom for sure. Now there's kind of a break in racing, so I'm just kind of hanging out here and waiting for the next one. But yeah, I guess we were kind of just we were based out of Sittard and driving to each race every morning for like 3 hours. So that was kind of brutal, I guess. But
Yeah,
yeah.
gosh, but I believe your stay in Europe has been extended somewhat, due to being selected for the US team for you're doing U23.
Yes,
Um,
yeah,
so you're
U23.
doing U23 Worlds over in Tabor. Like, when did you know that you were getting selected? And like, also, how does the whole selection process work for that?
Oh gosh. So I found out like about a week ago from my
Wow.
team manager because before the official selection came out, I guess they had, or USA Cycling had like a meeting with everyone,
Yeah,
kind of talking about it, and he just texted me. He was like, "You're into Worlds," and I was like, "What? Really? Like,
that's wild.
that's so cool." Yeah. And then I got the official email a few days later. So that was pretty cool, but I think um, selection this year was mostly based on UCI ranking. So
Okay.
I was ranked sixth for the USA girls. Like, yeah, but one of them isn't racing cross this year. So then
Okay.
I was fifth, and then I think they picked based off of that, basically.
Oh, that's handy. Obviously, it's testament to your great racing in America. Several top tens this year, several top, well, a couple of top fives, is it? Or at least one top five that I saw in your.
I think one.
Well, it's still one more top five than I've ever had, so I'd take
Oh,
that every day of the week, you know.
oh,
Um, so yeah, how's the racing in the US been going for you?
It was going pretty good. Obviously, like kind of starting out the season is a little bit hard because cross is kind of harsh and you just jump right into it and it's pretty brutal. And then I finally kind of started getting into a rhythm. I got the top five at King's Cross and top tens at Really Rad. and then I got mono, and
Oh,
that kind of just messed everything up. So that kind of sucked. And then I'm still kind of fighting it, I think, but yeah, I mean that messed with my nationals race and basically everything else in between. So that was not good, but it's
no,
fine.
but I mean that top five, like I had a quick look at the results earlier today, and like I mean obviously, the Clara Hontinger and Isabella Holmgren were like top two, and then
Hmm.
you were ahead of Ava Holmgren. So like that's a hugely experienced. Well, I guess even though she's young, she's got a lot of experience at high level
Hmm.
racing.
Yeah.
So to beat her is great. And yeah, I think that's huge. And obviously, as I said earlier, like it's testament to your great racing that you've been selected for Worlds. And it's not your first Worlds, which I will admit I was surprised to learn, because I thought I knew that already, but didn't. I was like, oh yeah, she raced. So that was Fayetteville, I presume.
Fayetteville, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so are you bringing any learnings from that to this year's Worlds? Is there anything you think you've learned from that whole experience?
I think just in general with Fayetteville originally, I was kind of pretty stressed because it was my
Okay.
first world and I knew there were going to be a lot of people there. And especially since it was going to be in my home country, it was just kind of like, oh my God, like, how do I even deal with this? And I don't think I did a very good job of dealing with it.
Okay.
So this year, I'm just going to try and be like, all right, it's another race and we're just going to go into it and do my best and finish off the season as strong as I can. So, yeah.
Yeah, I guess, is it different because Tabor obviously isn't the US, so it's not a home crowd. It's, to me, I'd be like, I'm the, I guess, foreigner, if you will, like racing here with no home support, but then no home expectation and no one, you know, hoping that I do well. I'm just there to see how it goes, and does that take the stress off, perhaps?
Um, Maybe a little bit, but there's also going to be like thousands more people here
Yeah.
as well. So, I don't know. I mean, I think it's kind of the same a little bit. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and have you watched? I don't think I've seen Tabor in your result sheet, so I presume you've never been there. But have you
Yeah.
seen how the racing typically goes there? Does that give you a chance for a game plan, or do you just turn up on the day? Like, I guess part of that question is how much research do you do when it's an unknown course?
I haven't really jumped into research yet, but like normally I'll watch the like pre-ride videos and videos of past races there to like kind of get an idea of what it's like. Um yeah, and then go from there. But I have seen a little bit and it looks like it's a pretty fast course, not super technical. I don't think it's gonna be that muddy. I think it's gonna be really cold with maybe some snow.
Hmm.
So I have yet to talk to my coach about that and kind of see like how to best kind of plan the race out and get a game plan. So
Yeah, I think certainly my experience of watching Tabor is that it tends to be bunchy
yeah.
more than traditional cross like Namur. You're never getting a sprint finish.
Oh,
Or
never. Yeah,
whereas, yeah, Tabor, I think I've seen quite
for
a few
sure.
sprint finishes by now.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's a very different, almost like I
It's
don't
kind
know
of like
whether
a
this is,
crit, I think.
yeah, and kind of how, maybe this is false, but I view US races more in that style where they end up being kind of muddy crits than like quote unquote true European
Oh
cyclocross.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, perhaps that suits you better, and is maybe a style that, not to put any expectation or pressure on you,
It's
but maybe
fine.
that suits you like more than a Namur, or like a Zonhover would.
Yeah, I don't know actually because I have a tendency to do better in more technical races.
Okay.
So the US racing doesn't necessarily suit my style super well. Like obviously I do a lot of it because that's all that's
Yeah.
there. But like with a course like Zonhoven or Namur, like I can normally do pretty well on like technical descents like that. So Tabor is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, I wonder what is that because of your mountain biking background, perhaps that like
I don't know. I really don't know.
no, it's just usually like yeah, mountain bikers tend to be really good at sort of the descending part and the techie bits, and then more road focused riders again tend to be better at the sort of flat powery bits.
Yeah.
And obviously the tarmac section that you always get.
Hmm.
It's kind of weird how will I guess generates into the melting pot of cyclocross and the different skill sets everyone brings. I guess how have you found the racing in Belgium and in Europe in general? Like, how does it compare to the US and what's it like going from, I guess, racing where you're getting top tens to racing and being a bit further down the pack just because I guess that's the nature of a beast, you know.
Right.
All these riders are great and hugely experienced at Belgian racing versus your experience of US racing. Like, how
Mhm.
does that compare and how does it feel?
It's really hard sometimes. Like, in terms of the courses, I love the courses so much more. Like they're a lot more interesting and there's more technical parts as I kind of talked about earlier. Um, but oh my gosh, the ladies over here are so fast and it does kind of suck going from getting top tens to like getting pulled and getting like 50th, and it's hard like mentally. It's just kind of like, oh wow, I really am kind of slow. So yeah, but it's fun, you know. It's super cool to be able to race with these people. It's like a huge honor and it's amazing. And yeah, it's a really cool experience just in general.
Yeah. Does it change actually how you approach the race, both, I guess, from a mental point of view, going, well, you know, I'll get the place I get, but you know, it's hard to race for a placing when it's not top 10 or not, you know, top 20, etc.
Hmm.
And kind of having that threat of being pulled and that experience of it, like, does that change? Because if I was doing it, I'd be like, okay, I'm probably going to get lapped or, you know, 80%ed. So I might as well just put all my energy into like the first 5 laps because I'm not going to see the 6th or 7th potentially. And I want to get as
Hmm.
far as I can. Whereas in races where you're aiming for top 10, you're kind of holding something back for that last lap.
Right. Yeah, no, it's different for sure. The goal is to like make the lead lap basically. So
Yeah.
you're kind of going as hard as you can until that point, and then if you do, it's kind of like, oh my God, I made it. Like, yeah, you're not really leaving anything out there at the end.
Yeah, it's kind of must be interesting and different.
Yeah, it is for sure.
Um, I've also obviously I talked about your mountain bike background. Just for people who aren't familiar with you, and you know, just in case that other podcast ends up being lost media, how did you get into cycling and yeah, end up where you are today?
Right. I mean, my family have been bikers forever, but I started racing when we have this little, well, I guess it's not little anymore, but at the time, there was a little club called About Racing.
Mm.
And basically, my dad's friend invited him to come coach some juniors for like an evening. And he was like, Mia, you should come along. And I was like, okay. And then I got super competitive and I started going more and more. And I became really good friends with a lot of the kids. And it was really fun. And then I started basically racing from there.
Mm. Given that your kind of route in was because your dad was going to coach, did he ever coach you?
he did, like, as a formal coach, like, giving me workouts for, um, I think, like, 6 months at the end of 2019.
Okay. How did you find that working with a member of family? Because like I've spoken to others who have been in a similar situation, and I think I think it'd be really tough to because you've got like your dad, the family member, and then your dad, the coach, and trying to
Mhm.
keep them separate and distinct people whilst it being impossible to keep them separate and distinct. Like to me, that would be a nightmare. But
Mhm.
how did it work for you? I'm not asking you to like trash talk your dad, but
No, it's fine. I love my dad. We have a great relationship. But, yeah, at the time, it was kinda interesting. Um, I still to this day, I have to kind of reiterate, like, "Dad, I want you to be my dad, not a coach," you know?
mm,
But I know he just wants the best for me,
yeah.
but at the time, it was a little bit difficult, like, it was mostly the coaching part, but also, like, I can't really complain because I won nationals that year, and I think that's, like, partially because he was giving me the workouts that he did, and so, I mean, it's kinda I don't know, yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky.
It is tricky, yeah.
Like yeah, that would be really hard to negotiate, but I'm glad like yeah, because I could imagine like people end up having to stand up to their coaches occasionally, like and just say,
Mhm.
actually, no, that's not working. But when that's your dad, like that must be hard.
Yeah, I don't think I ever did that.
No, I don't think I could do that to my dad actually. Yeah, it's tricky enough on other things, like let alone that, like just yeah. Um, so obviously you had that mountain bike background, but you've also done road racing. I was like, I've seen you know your Instagram uploads from this year. I'm like, she doing road racing? That's not fair. Like in my mind, if you're doing cyclocross, that's it. Like you're a cyclocross rider, nothing else. But obviously everyone's got diverse talents, diverse goals, and I guess also like what they enjoy doing. Um, you know, and cross is typically only the winter anyway, so you got to do
Mhm.
something in the summer. Um, but yeah, how does how does that combine for you? How do you balance it all? And also, how are you finding road compared to cross?
Well, I mean, going back to your point where, like, a cyclocross racer is, like, only a cyclocross racer, I
That's
know a
just in
lot
my
of
head
people.
canon, like
Yeah, no, I know a lot of people do that, like, that are at the top, like, Brand and, like, all those people.
mm,
But I think it's important to have a little bit of diversity, because if I was to just do cross, like, all the time, I'd get super burnt out pretty quick, I think. So it's nice to have road as just kind of doing something else, and it's a total different style of racing, and yeah, so that's pretty nice, but it's not that hard to balance because, I mean, the road season is, like, completely separate from the cross season, so, I mean, that's pretty convenient, I guess.
yeah,
Um, yeah, but
yeah. I think did you get some wins this year? I remember vaguely seeing like some sort of medals or trophies.
yeah, I did get a few at, like, this, crit series in Chicago.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Is that for obviously I'm not asking for where you live exactly, but like is that far to travel? Like, because to me I'm like the US is so vast. I forget how big it is
No, it
sometimes.
is. Yeah, I live in Colorado, so Chicago's like, I want to say about a 20-hour drive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because when you led with 20, I was like, that's gonna be minutes, right? It's-
20 minutes? No.
I know. Like you could drive for like several hours in Florida and not leave it. I know that
Oh,
much.
yeah.
But so yeah, God, 20 hours of driving.
Well, we flew. So I think
Okay, yeah.
it's like a 2-hour flight. So,
But even then, that's you know, you're flying all that way and you're not even leaving the country.
It's a little bit sad sometimes, like, oh, like I have no stamps on my passport just because I live in the US.
Yeah, yeah, because like for certainly for me from the UK, like if ever I'm getting on a plane, I'm leaving the country.
Hmm.
Some people like fly to Scotland, which is still part of the same as
Right,
the
yeah.
UK. So occasionally that doesn't happen, but no, I've never got on a plane and stayed in the UK. Like I'm always
Wow.
going somewhere abroad. As well to me, like yeah, I mean I've seen it on TV shows like I guess Catfish, like where they just hop on a plane and go across to America. I'm like, geez,
Hmm.
you've gone all that way, all
Yeah.
that sort of hassle, and you're still in the States.
Oh, yeah.
Like
If you fly from like Florida to California or something, the flight is like 5 hours too. Like it's not a short flight.
like yeah, I'd fly for 5 hours. I'd be like Greece, maybe, like the
Hmm.
complete opposite end of Europe.
Yeah.
Just
No, I think my flight
ah.
here was like 6.5 hours from Washington. So it's kind of like, why am I just going to some random US state when I could be going to Europe or somewhere cooler, you know?
Yeah. And do you have ambitions to come back to Europe, and maybe even more permanently, or is it just you're a
Yeah.
US home girl and you just want to?
No, I think so because I started doing online school this semester. So I don't have to live in Colorado anymore, and I'm kind of thinking about moving over here.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Wow. I mean, is this an exclusive? Have you? I assume you've told your family, and they're not just learning this
Yeah,
now.
no, they're
Like,
totally supportive of it. They're like, you can go wherever you want. Like,
oh,
yeah, just as long as we can come visit and yeah.
no, I think they should be banned from visiting. Obviously, like,
No, I could never. I have to see my dog and
um, would you base yourself in Belgium, or just because of a cross thing, or would
I
you
think
like?
in the Netherlands.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one. I mean, yeah, they still have great racing, and obviously a huge bike culture.
Hmm.
'Cause, yeah, I don't actually know that many who base themselves in the Netherlands. Typically, like UK riders, if they move abroad, it's like everyone goes to Girona.
Hmm.
Um, it's like I don't know why Girona, but it's like when it's
Uh,
like the Catalunya tour, it's like
hmm.
that's a home race for pretty much half the peloton. It's kind of
Oh,
what it's
wow.
like, just everyone goes there. Um,
Yeah. I think just because the weather is so nice there and you can just
yeah,
do as many miles as you want and be wearing short sleeves and shorts. Like, yeah.
yeah, you're probably not getting that in the Netherlands, but
No, it's been quite cold here recently, actually. It's like
yeah,
0 degrees, 1 degree.
and like I don't know for sure, but Colorado strikes me as a very warm, arid kind of Arizona type place.
Um, yeah, it depends on where you go.
Okay.
Where my parents live, it's probably like 5, 10 degrees during the winter normally, but
Uh,
obviously, it can be colder a lot of the
I assume
time.
that's centigrade and not 5 Fahrenheit, because that
Yeah,
would be.
that's yeah, Celsius. But I mean, also we do get really cold days. Like it was 0 degrees Fahrenheit there, like a week ago,
Wow.
I think, for them. So it depends. The Colorado weather is crazy sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know why. Just in my head, I was like, I expected it to be quite a warm place for some reason. That's probably on my lack of knowledge of the US, to be honest. Um, more than anything else.
Oh.
Um, but yeah, that would be incredible to make such a big move. How are you feeling about it? Like, I guess how developed are plans? Is it just something you're thinking of? Is it like
It's
you're
just in
starting to
the
look at
thought right
places?
now.
Like,
Yeah, no, just thinking about it a little bit and talking to my parents and making sure it's okay. Yeah, but I
yeah.
haven't looked at anywhere yet or anything like that.
Ah, That's fair enough. Well, I hope that goes well for you. Um, as I probably asked last time as well, like what's the future plans? Kind of, obviously we've talked about Worlds, but Worlds and after, or even before Worlds as well. Like, yeah, what's coming up for you?
Right. I'm gonna do Hoogerheide in like a week and a half.
Mhm.
And then after that, it's basically Worlds. And then after Worlds, I'll probably take a little bit of a rest because it's been a really long season. And then basically, I'm gonna probably do some base before then getting into the road season, which starts in like April.
Wow.
So I'll have like a month and a half to kind of get the endurance back up, do some warm weather riding. Yeah, and then it's on to road.
Wow, and how long have you got left at, I guess you're American, you'd call it school, I'd call it university. How long have you got left with that?
Well, I just changed my major, so
Wow,
I hope to say like 2.5 years, but it may be a little bit more.
wow,
Yeah.
that's that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And even taking that from the Netherlands, mind you, some of the lectures might be in your evening. It'll be a nice chill, like go cycling in the morning, hit lectures in the evening. That's a good
Yeah,
balance.
there's no like specific lecture times though. Like
Oh wow.
it's just online and they'll tell me like, okay, you got to read this text or you have to watch this video, but you can do it whenever you want during the day. So that part is really nice.
Yeah, that sounds hugely flexible. I guess that's super helpful as someone, making huge steps in a cycling career. That's probably one of the best courses to get on if you can have that flexibility.
Yeah, for sure.
Brill. So yeah, how can people keep up with you, keep up to date with your goings on? I guess, see how you get on at Tabor, and I assume you'll put some posts up about it at some point. So
Yeah, mostly just through my Instagram, I guess.
yeah,
That's where I post everything.
lovely. I'll make sure that goes in the show notes, and we'll probably, as I'm speaking now, even there might even be like just a picture of your profile so that people can see it easily and get to it. Um, which means all that's left is to say thank you so much for your time. And we'll have to speak again soon. But otherwise, good luck for Tabor.
Yeah, thank you. And I look forward to speaking again soon.
There you go. That was a lovely, lovely chat that we had. Just really great. And now we're in the credits. So thank you so much for sticking it out. Obviously, huge thanks to Mia for her time, as well as to Lena for all her support as usual. It makes a huge difference having someone I work with on these. And yeah, I hope you enjoy, and I hope you, yeah, listen to the next one as well.